Okay, so we are going to give it just a little minute or so, and then I would love to honor and respect your time in showing up by getting started when I said I would. But this is the awkward part, the waiting. Looking out the door. Anybody else coming? Okay.
Hi, what did I miss the first few minutes? I guess it has to dial in. I was just curious. You were just saying waiting on Zoom, right?
We're just waiting. Yeah, you did not miss anything. We're just getting going, getting the recording started.
Okay, thank you. It's been wonderful. I'm learning.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah, it's very helpful and healing.
Good.
Awesome.
I'm so glad to hear that. This is the first time I've ever done something like this I do the live circle once a month, but this is the first time I've done anything like and I do tons of classes and stuff, but this is my first time with having like a retreat rollout with emails and that kind of stuff. So thank you to the people who experimented with me with that format. I've never done that format before. And so I hope it was enjoyable. We'll have a little bit of time towards the end tonight for people to share their experiences with the previous days of the retreat. So let's go ahead and get started. And so welcome to Claiming Your Magic, the live version. Thank you so much for being here and for participating in whatever way has worked for you. You will continue to have access to the videos and the emails and things like that after this is over. So you can go back. If you've missed something, you can go back to the website and re-access it. So anyway, welcome to Claiming Your Magic Live. I'm Molly Reamer with 30 Days of Goddess and Bridges Grove, and author of the new book, 365 Days of Goddess. Yay! Thank you so much to those of you who have purchased it, and I really appreciate that. And so over the last three days, we've explored claiming our magic together in some way, whether you journaled or whether you participated in the videos or followed along with some of the practices. But we've explored claiming our magic, practicing the presence of the goddess, and the power of devotional practice. So thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to sharing space with you tonight as we continue claiming our magic together. This tonight is going to be approximately an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how much other people have to share. And I did want to briefly explain before we actually jump into the ritual part that I had sent out a little some handouts in an email. So if you have those handy, we are going to use them during tonight. If you don't have them handy, do not be stressed out. You can just write on a regular piece of paper and you can fill out the little cards later. But I see some people have a little card. So I was originally going to make 2 little cards. Yay! I see Karen has them, Tracy has them, Lisa has them. Yay! Saray has them. Okay, so good. So I was originally going to make 2 little cards for this. I was like, we'll do 2 journaling exercises. Well, it suddenly turned into a whole buffet because that's kind of how I am. And I celebrate that about myself. And so we're going to use 2 of them tonight. But I did want to explain that you can feel free as we're moving through tonight to go ahead and color on them if you want to, while during the parts where I'm talking or reading. You're welcome to use the cards in the way that you wish during tonight's circle. The 2 that we are going to do together are the larger, the what do I need to live my magic, and then my magic is. So it's better to not start working on those until I guide you through that part. But the smaller ones with the affirmations, feel free to start coloring them right now if you feel creatively inspired to start coloring them right now. That's fine. And the other thing I wanted to say before we do our centering and our drop in and all that kind of stuff is that I really want to be clear in this whole process, so the past 3 days and tonight as well, is that I'm not telling you what to do or how to feel, right? I'm not telling you what to do or how to feel. What I'm inviting you to do, and what I'm inviting my own self to do, is to remember, to consider, to ask, like, what if what if these things were true for you? What if you have this wellspring of magic and power inside you and you can tap into it at any time? Like, what would change for you if you believed that to be true? And what would change for you if you knew it to be true? I'm not saying you have to think it's true, I'm inviting you to crack the doorway open to consider, what if this is true? What if I have this wellspring of magic inside me? What if I have the ability to claim my power and my voice? What if I have the capacity to live my magic now? So I'm not saying you have to do it or you have to do it my way. I'm inviting you to crack the door open to consider, what if this could be true? What if this could be true for me? And what would change in my life, or what would be different for me if I knew it to be true? And so your answers are your own. Your wisdom is your own. Your inner wellspring is your own. And I have things that I've learned and resources that I've developed and things that feel true to me, but your power, your magic, your voice, that's yours. And it could be wildly different than mine. And that's okay, because I'm not here to tell you what to do or how to feel. And so I wanted to be clear about that, because I think sometimes people might misinterpret when I have like a, poem about claiming your magic in your voice, and they think, well, Molly thinks that, she believes that and inhabits that all the time. These are reminders to me too. I don't write the things that I write and share the things that I write because I 100% embody them all the time. They're messages to me as well as to you, and reminders to me as well as to you. I'm not perfect and I don't have it all figured out, and I'm not living in a constant state of devotional bliss. I'm cracking the door open to consider, what could this look like? What could this look like for you? What could this look like for me? And so likewise, these are like these prayers, these practices, the things we'll do tonight. These are invitations, not prescriptions. They're invitations, not prescriptions. And I too am remembering and re-remembering and affirming and reaffirming and returning again and again every day. That's what we all do. We return again and again every day. We'll lose it. We'll get scattered. We'll get disconnected from that sensation of inner magic. Totally normal. We cannot cure ourselves of being human. We're here to live it all. And when I say we're in devotion to our own lives, that's what I mean. Not that we're existing in a state of devotional bliss, but we're in devotion to being here for it all. The bumpy and the battered and the bruised and the painful, and the grand and the glorious and the shining and the bright. We're here for it all. That's what being in devotion to our own lives means, is we're here for everything, all the pieces, even the yucky ones. So that was a little housekeeping that I wanted to make sure to share, because I think occasionally people can misinterpret that I'm saying life should always be grand and glorious and never messy and bumpy. I'm saying let's hold it all in our richness and our power and our weeping and our sorrow. Let's hold it all. Okay, so that was a lot. That was kind of heavy to start with. It's just something that's been on my mind, and I'm like, I'm gonna clear the air when we start. So I'm going to now, I'm gonna guide you through the simple and sacred affirmation prayer that I repeat in the prayer books. It's also in 365 Days of God at the beginning. And so I invite you to take a nice deep breath and kind of let everything else roll away on that breath. Even the stuff I've just said. Let it roll away for a minute and bring yourself home into your body where you are right now. In the grit and the glory, in the mud and the magic. And taking another deep breath and letting yourself settle into your body. You might even want to shift around a little bit if there's something that feels tight or uncomfortable. But allowing yourself to be present in your body. And then here is the prayer. You may repeat this silently to yourself, or you may just listen to me, whatever works best for you. Pause to bear witness. Pause to connect. Settle into presence. Return to center. Extend your awareness. softening into the expansive. Listening to the landscape, to the goddess, to your heart. And open to enchantment. Open to the magic of the moment, to the magic of the ordinary. Feel your own belonging. Steep in your own magic. Step into your own knowing. Trust that you walk on sacred ground and are enfolded by the holy. You breathe the breath of grace. Okay, so if you brought a candle with you tonight, I invite you to take your candle, and if you don't have a candle, you can have a metaphorical candle in your mind. That's okay too. And I would love for you to choose a one-word intention for tonight. If you have one word that's something that you would like to embody or offer or receive, whatever it is, a one-word intention, I invite you to consider that now. You may wish to lay, I'm a big fan of laying both my hands against my heart. I don't know why, it's such a good recentering for me. So you might want to lay your hands against your heart and let that word come up for you. What is your one word intention for tonight? And then go ahead and speak that word and light your candle. If you want, you could unmute yourself briefly and speak the word. It doesn't have to be turn taking. You can just like shout it out there if you want to. So I'm lighting my candle for joy.
Celebration.
Grace.
Presence.
Oh, yes.
Temple.
Oh, good one. Okay, so inviting those intentions in. Then resettling yourself again into your body. I say often the body's the quickest doorway back to the sacred. And I recognize that not everybody's bodies always feel like safe spaces to them. So I honor that truth for you as well. But returning back to the body again. And then letting your attention shift out to the other people who are present in this grid with you right now. Looking around at the people on either side of you. Take your hands out to the sides. And let yourself sense the people around you who are joining us from different times and different places and different states and different rooms. And yet we're all here somehow, magically through the power of Zoom and connection in the same room together. So sensing those people and that web of connection that we weave together, that web of magic that we cast across the land, let yourself feel that as an energetic reality right now, fingertip to fingertip, life to life, heart to heart. And then bringing your hands back to your heart and settling into that energy, letting that energy soak into you, that web of connection that we weave together. We are no longer a grid, we are a circle. And it is thanks to Monette Chilson, who was my guest for day 2, that I learned the circle to grid. She did that the first time in a Lilith circle that I participated in. And I've used it ever since that first experience. So thanks to Monette. If anybody watched that second, the second day 2 video, that was the originator of the circle to grid, at least in my life. Other people might do it as well. So anyway, I have a little brief section, a poem that I want to share. I can't do anything pretty much without offering poems. Someday somebody should challenge me to do something and never read a poem, but I wouldn't be able to. So anyway, this one I wanted to share because I feel like, so there's a section at the beginning of, a section at the beginning of the new book, and in my older book, Whole and Holy, as well, about feeling like the longing for magic, the longing for the goddess, the longing for connection. And so this poem comes from that experience, that being a seeker of magic in the world. Once I was a seeker who longed to discover, who sensed the mystery, who tasted magic, who sought the goddess, who danced with desire, who craved connection. Now I know that I contain the mystery. I am magic. The goddess is everywhere. I am always connected. The dance is eternal. The questions are answers. To seek is to find that you know. So I spoke, thank you. I spoke in the first video about I think it was the first video, about kind of what is magic, and my understanding of it is that current of the sacred that underlies our lives, that's always there, that we can dip our toes into. We can dip our toes into it whenever we need to, like it's always there, running beneath the surface of our lives. And the other thing I wanted to say about magic is that for me, I find that what I term magic, or what I think of as magic, and it's hard to express because I feel like you know it when you feel it, like you know that feeling of being of your own magic, of being in your own magic, that thing that only you know, that spark of the infinite that lives in your body, that special something that's yours, that's your magic. And for me, magic is stabilizing, like it is a stabilizing influence. It's how I come back home to myself after driving here and doing this and taking care of this need. When I tap back into my magic, that's how I come back home. It's how I restabilize, how I recenter. So I don't view it as I'm out casting spells to achieve certain outcomes. Instead, it's how I come back in, how I come back home. And as I said at the beginning, I don't have all the answers. So for you, your experience of magic may be different. And that's the first journal question we're going to get to, is like, what's your magic? But for me, magic is stabilizing. And so I have a little poem about that too. I promise I'm going to let other people talk, but I have a little stabilizing poem first. Oh, good. I see Karen's here. I was hoping you'd come, Karen. For me, magic is stabilizing. It's how I come back home, how I center into the present and collect my pieces back together. I know there are other definitions, changing consciousness at will, things unexplained, fantastical or fictional, spells and charms and sacred books. The magic I know is earthy, embodied, and here. It is the kind of magic that weaves you whole and nourishes your soul. My magic is the stuff of witnessing. It is made of blood and soil. It is how I step into reality with my whole heart willing and my eyes wide open. It is how I heal and grow and create and know. It is the magic of place. It is mindfulness, mystery, divinity, and devotion, attention and awe, all rolled up together in one sacred bundle of being here, of being in the world to see it, feel it, love it, and be it. Okay. Pretty soon, we're going to touch into what your magic is. But before that, I have a question for you based on the introduction part of the new book of 365 Days of Goddess. And in that, let me see where I wrote that down. in that book, and you don't have to have the book in order to have this make sense to you, but in the book, I write about there being a language of the goddess that's alive in the world, like around us all the time. It can be symbolic, it can be very personal, it can be universal, you know, so spiral. I just was at the library today and I was at my writers club and they had the guy, it's a long story, I'll tell it another time, but there was a hypnotist there. I ended up crying, which I don't expect to do at a writers club at the library. But in the painting that he showed us that we were looking at, it had spirals in it, right? And spirals are a symbol of the goddess. Like the goddess is everywhere. Like they're literally, it can be a hypnotist at the library and you can still find the goddess in that experience. And so the language of the goddess, of divinity, of the sacred is alive in this world. Like the language of the goddess is alive in this world. We can see her in crows, we can see her in violets, we can see her in iris, we can see her in the river. The language is there. And we can learn, so this is from the book, we can learn how she speaks, how she sings and whispers, how she howls and dances, how she plays her music through the everyday. We can learn her voice and be alert for it wherever we go, learning that her signs and symbols, her impression and expression are around us at all times. Dialoguing with divinity takes place in pine trees and crow wings, tiny feathers and flowering trees. The goddess speaks in seashells and stones, moss, meadows, and mountains. We can hear her in wind, wave, water, and sand. We can see her in spirals, even at the library with the hypnotist, in buds and in pine cones, in newborn eyes and sunrises and shores. We can watch her in wingspan and see her in lightning. We walk in the palm of her hand and her language speaks directly to our very own bones. So if goddess is an uncomfortable word for you, you can plug in something else like the sacred or the universe or the spirit or something like that. For me, it's important to name and claim the goddess in from like a cultural, psychological, political, sociological perspective. It's important for me to name and claim the goddess, but you can plug in other words there too, or speaking to that great grand web of incarnation that holds us all the time. And so my question for you that I would like to invite you to consider, this one doesn't have the journal page that goes with it, but it is, what are your touchstones? What are your signs that the goddess is alive and magic is afoot in the world? What are your spirals at the library? What are your touchstones with the holy? So that's my question for you. What are your touchstones? What are your signs that the goddess is alive and magic is afoot? And anybody is welcome to chime in if they feel like it.
Sure.
And if you do chime in, go ahead and say your name first and hopefully where you're located to help people who are watching the replay later kind of orient themselves. Karen, did you have something? Karen,
I'm Karen, I'm from Massachusetts, and I said nature.
Nature, yes. Yeah, so many things, right? So many things. And I've said and written before, I believe in Walking with Persephone, like if you just decide something's magical, you'll see magic everywhere. And I was kind of almost self-recriminating about that, like, like I decided crows are magical, so now I see magic everywhere. It's like, yes, that's actually the heart of it. If crows are magic and you see them everywhere, magic is everywhere. Like it's actually an amazing insight. Is not something to feel self-denigrating about. It's wonderful if you can see the chicory in bloom by the sidewalk and like becomes a religious experience. That's awesome. Okay. Anybody else? I see Deb tying in.
Oh, I'm
Yes,
Kelly. Mine is nature. Mine is also nature, definitely. I love to listen to the birds and connect with what's around me. That's that sense of peace and goddess and healing for me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Saray and I'm from Maine. I think like everybody else, definitely nature. I live in a very rural area and she's just all around, always, all seasons. And I really love to look for her. You know, like it's really easy to find her right now because it's summer and everything is just so like, the word flourish for us. She's really flourishing right now. But she's there in all seasons, even in the quiet of winter, it's just, she's always there. And I just love to see her in those different moments and times of the year.
Yes. absolutely. This past year, I really sensed, like, I called it the crone of winter, but I really sensed her like palpably as a presence, like both as a landscape in the landscape, but also like an energetic presence who was like right there, like this crone of winter, which I don't remember having felt with such clarity and such like embodiment or personification. You know, I see a lot in the landscape and in the changing seasons, but this past winter I was like, this crone of winter, she is whispering like right behind me. And I think of her even now in the summer when there's so much flourishing. You know, the summer queen is in her power right now, like the summer queen is in her power, but I still can hear that winter crone whispering as well. And there's just there's so much. So thank you for bringing that up. Sometimes it's easier to see her and feel her.
For
Anybody
me,
else?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Kim. I'm in California. And I love to look for threads and themes that weave through a day or a week or whatever I'm working on. Like today, spirals has been coming up for me a lot. And here you said it again. So I like to follow the breadcrumbs and just notice those things.
Yes, that's one of the things I find with daily practice, especially if you do the woman runes cards at the beginning, that sometimes you see that theme reflected later on, even if maybe you've forgotten what the rune was that you picked at the beginning, you'll still sometimes see it actually, sometimes literally like in front of you. I had the 2 triangles recently, and you'll find that like focus comes up, or you'll actually see like edges and lines places or spirals or things like that. And I do find there's those threads of connection kind of permeate through your day. It's not something that you're just sticking in a little box at one time. There's things that permeate throughout your day. I was double checking.
I like to write down the questions that stick out to me from the woman runes
Yes.
text for the rune that I pulled that day in my journal, and then I'll kind of just let them percolate. And the next day, oftentimes some kind of answer will have emerged that I can then follow up on. So it's kind of fun to carry it over from day to day.
Yes. I was just double checking because I was like, I'm pretty sure my rune for today was the rune of dancing women, which is the rune of celebration, right? Which is perfect for today. But I had to double check, like, am I really remembering that correctly, or would that just be too convenient? But it really was. Okay, so I see Carol had said the messages received, and Deb shared doing a walking the wheel journey, observing nature around me in the winter, felt the presence of the goddess very strongly. Yes. Okay, so anybody else have, Tracy?
I was going to say, obviously the nature thing, but beyond that one, like one of my things that is when I come across, whether it's in nature or in town or even in my own house, just kind of something that surprises and delights me. And it's usually like seeing faces in something, but it can be also just something kind of out of the ordinary. And so that's one of the things that, and in my daily attempt at daily practice of coming home to myself, like when I really tune into me, I feel it's more, it's like I'm really tuning into her too. And so it's just this bigger feeling, and that it just really helps a lot. So
thank you for sharing that. And I too, I love being surprised by something unexpected. It's just like the best. Yesterday, I saw a baby deer in the river. Like it was just standing in the river. These are the kinds of things that like, this will like fuel me for the whole day. I'm like, remember I saw the baby deer in the river? Like I'm golden now that I saw that. I love things that surprise and delight me. It really is like, that's like magic of the most precious and powerful kind. The things that just surprise us.
And yes, was it last night? Like I was sitting here finishing up my prayer book page, and I heard barred owls
the other night
outside, or a couple of nights ago, and I was like, was that what I thought it was? And like I was grabbed my husband and I'm like, come outside, let's, and like when we heard like 3 or 4 of them, and it was like, so yeah, that was
awesome. Love it. That's my favorite. Okay, anybody else have any touchstones with the sacred? Okay, then. So I would like to go, oh, I think, is somebody else talking that I'm missing? Okay, yes. I can't hear you. I see you talking, but I can't hear you. Hmm. No, never mind. Oh, I would like to hear you, but I can't. So maybe that'll work again in a minute. So we'll see what happens. But and there'll be another opportunity to share in a little bit. So like right now, I'd like to go ahead and read the June 23rd page from 365 Days of Goddess. Lately, I have been doing that, whatever event that I have, whatever online circle that I'm doing, or even on the solstice, my kids and I were doing our outdoor ritual with our honey cake that I made, and I just went ahead and read the poem for the book for that day. So whatever day it is, that's the one I'm reading aloud at any kind of events that I do lately. And I really have enjoyed that. It was nice to have the piece to read to my kids. And I thought, like, that's why I wrote this book. So anytime on any day you have something to read, any occasion that is called for and any event in which you may need some words, there will be something here for you for that day. So I'd like to go ahead and read the June 23rd to you now. And then we'll do our first journal practice. May you become curious about your joy and feel it, something alive within your skin, guiding your way. May you spread your hands open, touch the air, and sense the kind of nourishment you need, allowing yourself to have it. May you become curious about self-trust and taste it. Let it roll around your tongue and settle around your heart until you know the feeling deeply. You can trust yourself to know. You can trust yourself to listen. You can trust yourself to act. Okay, so the first journal practice is the card that says, "My magic is." So if you have it printed out, that's amazing. If you don't have it printed out, you can use a blank piece of paper, or you can even just let your mind run through it. You don't have to, so don't feel pressured by not having it if you don't have it. If you do have it, now is your chance to think about your own magic. We've spoken at the beginning about like what I perceive magic to be or how I feel magic in my life. But this is the chance for you to explore your own magic. And so I do have a poem, surprise. Oh, I have a poem. And I think I'm actually going to not read it first so that I don't interfere with your own experience of the question. I was going to read it first, but I'm changing in the middle. Sometimes you have to listen to your own inner prompting. So go ahead without me reading anything. Let yourself, let that question roll around inside you. My magic is ... What is your magic? There's not a right answer. There's not an A+ or a gold star. There's just your own answer that bubbles up from inside. So letting yourself settle in for a minute, maybe with your hands on your heart, and then write, my magic is. Let it out. And we'll have a couple minutes for this. So let yourself go free with it. It might even be symbols or images. It doesn't necessarily have to be words. So those of you who brought up things like spirals and runes, those things might show up on your magic. My magic is, letting it soak in and then seep out. So letting it roll around and bubble and brew, my magic is. We'll do about another 30 or 40 seconds or so you can keep writing if you still feel it, but kind of drawing it to a close. Remembering that your magic has no limits, so it can continue to bubble out as we go on. Okay. So my magic is, I see Deb commented that her magic is visceral, and I really feel that. Like you feel it, you feel it. So if anybody else would like to chime in with their experience, what their magic is, remember there's not a right or wrong, or it's just your experience. Want to try again? Our Xmas tree. Oh,
I'd like to share. This is Kelly from Connecticut. And I realized it's spirituality, astrology, nature, self-love, goddess, slowing down, stillness, peace, and meditation, and my expression of music and outgoing friendliness.
Lovely. Thank you. Anybody else? What's your magic? Maybe your magic is tender and secret. That's okay too.
It started with curiosity. My magic is curiosity, listening, seeing.
Ooh, I love it.
Seeing the wholeness, seeing the best. My magic is kindness. My magic is gratitude. My magic is wild, but also gentle.
Oh, thank you so much, Judy. My magic is seeking out the goddess, giving time and attention, and receiving positive thoughts, images, and affirmations. So that's what we heard from Xmas Tree. I don't actually know what your regular name is, and that's okay. So I will call you Xmas Tree 70. So thank you for sharing that.
I had that my magic is learning and growing. I have a real thirst to learn and grow and seek new information. It's always something I've kind of just naturally done. And I think connecting with others, you know, and connecting with the goddess and connecting with like connection, being in connection. Like I feel like that's really a huge part of, you know, my magic and everyone else's magic too. Is just that I love to connect. It's definitely, I feel it then. And I think my kindness too, and also my tenacity. I've been through a lot, and you know, I still, you know, have managed to kind of, you know, grow and learn from it. Instead of, you know, I have a saying that, you know, instead of why is this happening to me, why is this happening for me? You know, because I think there's always lessons in everything that happens, and it's really up to us, you know, how we interpret that. We can either kind of, you know, take it as it's happening to us, or we can, you know, it can be happening for us. So being a good friend and a good mom, I think those are part of my magic as well. And I think being open, you know, to staying open as a person to everything.
Those are great. And that thing that your comment about connection and having that be your magic, that's kind of what I mean by that current of the sacred, or that current of magic that underlies our lives. I think sometimes, it can be easy to get disconnected have the sensation of disconnection. You're rushing, you're hurrying, you've got the to-do list, etc. And so I find it really helpful to remember, it's always there. There is kind of almost no disconnection really possible, because it's always just there if I just dip my toe back in. And that really helps me with the sensation of having quote unquote lost your magic, or become disconnected, or feeling rushed or cut off or stressed or whatever. It's there's always the opportunity. It doesn't have to require anything extra or anything special. It's just to notice the sensation. I feel rushed and stressed and I'm driving too many places, and we can dip our toes back in the current. We can dip our toes back in the current right in that exact second that we feel the missing link, or we feel the missing connection. That's the chance. We can dip them back in, or reach out the hand. You can reach out your hand to connect. Wayne Dyer a long time ago said it was like being on a train car that has if you're standing in on a public transit in some way, there's the straps to hold on to, and that divinity or the sacred or your connection to the spirit, that's like the trolley strap. And you can always reach back up and grab the trolley strap if you need to. You're feeling bumpy, things are feeling weird, you can always reach back out. So dipping your toes in or reaching out, whatever metaphor works for you, but that it's always there and waiting. So the connection, the door is always open and the invitation is always issued. Okay, and I see I had a comment. We had a comment from the chat, doesn't show up later with the replay. I don't think so. Lisa says, I feel magic is an expansiveness in my chest. Oh yes, me too. When I feel a deep connection with others or with the sacred. Yes. And Kelly says, learning and enjoying this magic dance. Oops, I can't. Part of it's covered up. Oh, I enjoy dance, loving my cat, being a pet mom. Yeah, there's all kinds of magic to experience. And my poem was actually really long, so I might be going to I'll save that and share it some other time because I have lots of poems, but mine had a lot of nature imagery there. So I'll probably read that and do it as a poem on the Patreon about the magic. Carol says, my magic is about transforming the energy within transitions, either for myself or with others. That's good too. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and keep going. And if somebody has a thought later about their magic, they can pop back in with that. But I have a meditation that I'd like to do with you now it's a sacred space meditation from this Goddess Meditations book. And so it is, the invitation in the book is to make sure you're at an altar space or in your sacred space. We obviously are where we are, so we can be by computers. So that might not necessarily be your most ideal sacred space. Though I see Karen Glennon West has her lovely tapestry in the background, making a sacred space for her. I see Tracy has her special things behind her on the shelf and her creative work. And so people have, Saray, do you have anything interesting behind you? Maybe there's some interesting things back there. Yes, a goddess art is there with you. Yeah. Nice spaces. So people have their space. So, and goddess necklaces. There's things that we have all around us. I have my doorway to the outside, which is such an important sacred space for me. So anyway, for this meditation, you can either enjoy the space that you're already in, or you can mentally allow yourself to imagine a sacred space. If you have another separate sacred space, you can let yourself travel there in your mind. So going ahead and settling in to your body again. We come back out of our bodies a lot, back into our heads. And that's not wrong. Our heads are parts of our bodies. After all, it's not wrong to come out of your body and into your head. But we do have to kind of keep coming back again and again. It's really helpful for me to remember, we can come back again and again when we feel frazzled or we feel scattered. We can come back again and again. The invitation's always there. So letting yourself settle into your body, into your space. You can even lie down if that feels better to you. but allowing yourself to become comfortable and peaceful and at home where you are. And before you fully settle in to close your eyes, let your eyes travel around briefly your space where you are. And let yourself notice the things in your space that bring you comfort or peace. Like what's there right now that brings you comfort and peace, even if it isn't the perfect altar space or temple space. What's there that brings you comfort and peace? Then letting your eyes softly close. And I forgot to say, if you brought a crystal with you tonight or a goddess, go ahead and hold her now. Hold your crystal or hold your goddess. Ah, there's one. Yeah, go ahead. Yep, there's one too. I'm so glad to see them. So go ahead and hold your crystal or your goddess or both. One in each hand can also work. And then really drop yourself down into your body, letting your eyes come softly closed and your breath deepen. Letting your legs become heavy, your belly to become soft and full and easy, easy, easy. Letting a deep wave of peace flow through you, your face softening, your eyes relaxing. And letting relaxation travel through your shoulders. Letting any tension dissolve. Letting yourself become heavy and still and filled with peace and comfort. And allow yourself to feel the space around you. Feel comfort around you, soaking into you. Feel peace around you, soaking into you. And allow yourself to be bathed in a sense of well-being and restoration. Let yourself sense that this is sacred space right here, right now. With your eyes still closed, we're going to wander through this sacred space, the things that bring comfort and peace to you, exploring it, exploring your sacred space with your internal senses. So taking a deep breath, feeling that comfort and peace and love surround you. Feeling that goddess or crystal in your hand, feeling your body in contact with the earth. And let your inner self wander through your sacred space. What do you sense or feel around you that brings you a sense of the sacred? It can be something that's physically present or something that you just see inside your inner wisdom, your inner eye. Is it an altar? Is it polished stones or seashells or fresh flowers? Maybe there's art in your space that feels sacred to you, or art that is yet to be born that you're going to make that's currently in your sacred space. Sometimes there might be a pet or an animal that shows up in our sacred space. So let yourself feel, sense, imagine the sacred space all around you and what it holds. And taking another deep breath, beginning to consider what sacred space is. When we look around us in the world, even in a city, we see space that looks empty. We look up in the sky, we see space that looks empty. Scientists have said that the atom is perhaps 90% empty space, which means that if we're composed of atoms, we are mostly empty space. So pausing again to consider that space. Then allow yourself to consider that maybe the space that looks empty to our physical eyes is actually filled with consciousness. And maybe that consciousness is love. So allow yourself to feel, sense, imagine, know in all the space between the stars, in all the space within our atoms, all the space within our bodies, there is love, an infinite love that creates and protects, the love of unbroken and unbreakable bonds, filling all that empty space. Consciousness is sacred. Space is sacred. Our bodies are sacred. The earth is sacred. Every space is sacred space. So allowing yourself to breathe deep and feel that love in all the space. Feel that love touching the top of your head. Perhaps that love emanates from what you're holding in your hand. Perhaps it radiates from the things around you. Perhaps it glows in your heart and radiates from your body. Perhaps it arises from fresh flowers or from the sunshine or the trees. But allowing yourself to bathe in that love that comes from nowhere and is everywhere. Surrounding us right now. So if we can feel that love touching down on our tops of our heads, and then seeping down into our third eye, our foreheads, And reaching down through our eyes, our nose, our mouths. Soaking down through our bodies. Perhaps the love comes from the air around us. Perhaps it arises from within us. But we are always moving within it. You could call this the aura of the goddess herself. You could call it sacred space itself. Now let that love flow down through your throat and chest and belly. Feel it streaming down both of your arms and into your fingertips. Feel it even in your own fingernails. This love filling all the spaces of us. Doesn't really matter where we believe the love comes from. It holds every one of us lightly in its embrace. So we feel this love moving through our lower body, our hips and pelvis, down through our thighs. Down through our knees, down through our toes. There is no part of us that is not saturated by the love of the goddess, the love of the sacred, the love of the infinite. There is no space in us that is empty. We can feel this love under our feet. Know that we are supported every day. You are loved. I am loved. Wherever we are in sacred space, and she is there too. So letting yourself take another deep breath and basking in that sensation of love and sacredness, filling your body, filling your cells, filling your heart, filling your life. Another deep breath of connection and restoration and peace. And then when you feel ready, you can wiggle your fingers and your toes. Maybe pat yourself gently a little bit. Put your hands on your face. Or even put a hand on the top of your head and another hand on your heart. And then opening your eyes and coming back to the room. This circle we've made together tonight. This sacred space we've made right where we are. And now from that space of peace and connection and softness and expansion, you have your other journal card, the what do I need to live my magic? So letting yourself tap into that wellspring of love, that sensation of being held and supported and connected. Let the answer to that question bubble up from inside you. What do you need to live your magic? And as I said at the beginning, like you can, this is a doorway. We can crack the door open into possibility, into what if. Like, what if I could live my magic every day. What do I need to help me do that? What do I need to live my magic? So taking a few minutes to let yourself think about that. And the answer may arise for you in symbols or colors. It doesn't have to be words. It may just be a sensation or a feeling. You can let it bubble up and onto the page if that feels right to you. What do you need to live your magic? What helps you to feel supported and connected, whole and holy? And this can be practical things or regular things, or it can be wild prayers and brave dreams. So about 30 more seconds or so with the question bubbling of what you need to live your magic. And remembering that you can continue to carry this question with you. It doesn't have to be answered only tonight. You can carry it with you through your month or even through your year. My question of the year is, how can I live my magic? What does it look like to live my magic? That's my question of the year. I ask myself it every day. Like, what would it look like if I lived my magic right now? What would I choose? How would I feel? What would I do? What would the next step be if I was living my magic? Okay, so going ahead and stopping writing, remembering you can add to it if you need to. I see I have a couple of responses in the chat. Deb said, trust in myself, heeding my instincts, and a great supply of herbs. And Xmas Tree says, I need to take time for myself to be in sacred space. So important. And tune in through creating art, listening to music, reading and writing poems, taking time in nature, taking time to create a space that reflects love. So I would love to invite sharing. We don't have a whole bunch of time left, but if people have some thoughts, and it can be, if you have a reflection from the guided meditation, you can feel free to chime in with that as well. I know we moved straight in. Sometimes I find that after you do a meditation, what comes through is a different type of guidance almost than if you were thinking about it more cerebrally. So I wanted to go straight from the meditation into the question. But if you have a thought from the meditation or from your journaling, you can feel free to chime in. We have time for, about 3 or 4 people to share if they feel like sharing.
Should we just jump in?
Yep, you just jump in.
So I need a community of women, and I am so happy that I found this one and a couple others online, but I also need one in person, which I don't have. So I need a community, and I also need peace and solitude.
Thank you for sharing. And yes, community, I've shared this before. I started doing online circles myself last year and participating in other people's too. Before that, I kind of dismissed online circles almost as not the same, they're not quote unquote real. And I've come to see over the course of the last year, I'm a little late to the party. People have been zooming it up for years now, but I'm late to the Zoom party as far as feeling the connection with people. I've come to see like there really is a lot of power in online circle spaces as well, particularly because like we would never be able, there's people in Maine, there's people in California, there's people in different places here right now, and people in Missouri, and there's people in different places. And we would never be in the same room together. And so through the power of the internet, we are in the same room together right now. Like that's really beautiful and powerful and special. And we can carve out this extra time sometimes that we don't have in person. But oh my gosh, I just did my summer solstice ritual with my friends last weekend. And there is just such beauty in singing and laying the flowers on the ground and hugging each other in person. There's such power there. So I've come to see there's magic in both of them that's really, really valuable. And I do hope you find an in-person group as well. But the online, I used to kind of dismiss. And I'm like, actually, online has a lot of juice to it and a lot of beauty. And in-person does too. That the truly being hand in hand with other people. It's so good. It's so good. Okay, anybody else have what they need to live their magic? Okay, well, you can let it continue to bubble. And if you think of it later, you can post in Facebook or send me an email with what it is, what you need to live your magic. Oh, and Lisa said music, art, ritual, attuning to the seasons of the earth, living intentionally, and especially being in circle with other women. Yes, definitely powerful. And I think too, sometimes like remembering that the rituals we create with others don't need to be perfect. They don't need to be immaculate. There will be bumps. There's bumps in our own lives. There'll be bumps in our circles too. And that doesn't mean they're not worth it. That doesn't mean they're not worth it. People will be annoying, to be quite honest. People are annoying sometimes. They don't take things seriously that you want them to take seriously. They laugh sometimes when you wish they wouldn't laugh. They talk about other things. And it's still, even with the mess and the bumps, it's still powerful and worth trying. So even if rituals aren't perfect, there's magic in that mess. Okay. So I need to remember that too. Like what I need to live my magic is not perfection. I do not need perfection in order to live my magic. Okay, so going once, going twice on sharing.
I just wanted to know real quick, who said that they were in Massachusetts? Because I'm in Connecticut, upstate. I thought so. I wrote you in there. Where in Mass are you?
I am about 30 miles north of Boston.
Oh, you're far out then, because I'm at the top of Connecticut, like 20 minutes from Springfield, right?
Oh,
Okay.
There's always
Yeah,
middle meeting places.
Okay, maybe so.
Yeah.
I'll put my email to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I agree. Same thing. I wanted an in-person circle too.
Okay. It does really matter. Anybody else have any living of their magic or what they need? Okay, so I did want to see if anybody had any questions about the book or about the retreat content or anything like that. Or if anybody had any questions or insights or things that came up for them during the last 3 days with the online, the pre-recorded retreat content. So if anybody has anything they'd like to ask or share or anything like that, now would be your minutes in which to do that.
I had a question about your other book.
Yes.
You had a companion journal, I think. Does that go with the other book? Wondering which one you're with. I don't know the name of it. Sorry, but I was interested in them.
Yeah, 30 Days of Goddess prayer books. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, and then there was a journal book. And what would be like in the journal book?
Okay, so what I have monthly prayer books, which are the 30 Days of Goddess companion journals like this that you can fill out every month. There's a page for each day, and then there's prayer cards in the back and things like that. I also have a living the questions companion journal that you might be thinking of, and that goes with a class that's ongoing throughout this year. The Living the Questions journal is, and it has guided discussion questions and things like that for living your questions. It goes with the class. The class is still open, and it is you can access that. It's pay what you wish, so it can be free or it can be there's little discount codes to enter. So that class is actually still open. Living the questions, and but the daily practice prayer books that I use all the time. There's one for each month of the year, or there's a logbook. Like Tracy tends to do the logbook instead. And then there are other people like Karen, who makes them using the files that I provide for Patreon. Every month she sews hers together and uses the printable files that I provide. So they are primarily blank for your own work. So you add your own art, your own journaling, and then in the back of them, there's 30 little prayer cards that, like this. There's 30 little prayer cards that you can cut out and glue in or make little books out of and work with that way. So there's written content, but it's primarily for you to create your own daily practice in those books. Whoops, I hit myself in the nose with my prayer beads. That's what I mean about messiness, mess and magic coexisting. Sometimes we're blissful and serene. Sometimes we hit ourselves in the faces. Okay, any other questions or commentary based on any of the days or? And like I said, they will be available still, so you can go back. I know like the one with Monette and the one that I did with Monette went kind of long. We had originally said we were going to do a half an hour, and then it was like, there is no way we can tap into all of sovereignty in an hour, so we kept going, and I hope that was okay. But yeah, they'll still be available to you.
If I know this is maybe off the subject, if I was to join the Living Questions course, I have access to it in the future, not just this year, because I would buy the journal book too.
Yes, you can continue to have access to it. Yes, I don't promise like lifetime access, because whose lifetime am I talking about? But I will so I don't promise like indefinite access forever, but I don't close it. It'll stay open and you can go back through. Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Patreon. Can you talk about the different tiers of it? Because I'm interested.
Yes, I was going to end that. I was going to kind of end our discussion tonight with an invitation to join us in the Goddess Magic community on Patreon, which is a goddess-centered devotional community space online using Patreon. And the tiers are different. So we do have a devotional rhythm to the space. I have a little chart of the different things that I provide. And based on your tier, you have access to different points of that rhythm. So I have a devotional rhythm for the space. We have this community rhythm. And depending on where you feel like you'd like to enter into that rhythm, you can choose based on the tiers. So the topmost tier means you get basically everything pretty much that I make or offer. You get a post every day. And our broad theme for 2024 is actually going to be living our magic, claiming our magic, inhabiting our magic, stepping into this wholeness and fullness and muchness and richness of our lives. And so I do a live every Monday in the Facebook group with a broad theme of living our magic. And I have quotes and poems and things that I share there. So I do that every Monday. Every Tuesday, I have a ritual video, a divination video. Every Wednesday, I have an oracle card that for the Story Goddess Oracle that I'm building so people can print that out. And Karen, Karen Glennon over here, she always does the cards and colors them so nice and posts them in the group. And I mean, I color them too, but I like to see other people do it. So the oracle card comes on Wednesday. Thursday, I do a poem usually. And then Friday, there's a poem audio. So I do, it's like a 2-minute or less recording of a poem. And then you get a companion card that goes with it. So like a colorful, like this one that's in my little book here. You'll get like a, whoops, stuff's jumping out. My books are always full of magic. And so then Friday you get that. And then Saturday, there's usually, it depends, a poem or a video or another printable or something like that. Saturday's kind of up in the air depending on what is going on. And then Sunday's usually something else too. So basically you get like a post every day. And what I find is that you can just dip and dive into what works for you. You don't have to read everything. Sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, they're probably tired of hearing from me. But what I feel like is that rhythm, that dose of magic, that dose of experiencing, that little dollop of the sacred, that's just available to you. And you can dip and dive in whatever way feels nourishing and sustaining to you. And so that's the devotional rhythm of the space. And there's the tiers range from $1 up to $17. The $17 people also get magic mail in the mail. I send things out to them periodically through the year. And they get extra audios and extra printables and that kind of stuff. So it just kind of ranges based on what your needs are and what you want to, what point in the rhythm you wish to enter.
Molly, I have a question about the Living Questions course.
Mhm.
Where would I find that, or is that on Patreon?
It is. No, it's on Rizuku, which is our class platform that we use. And I will go ahead. I'm going to send this current video out as a replay. And I'll go ahead, since people have asked about that, I'll go ahead and link to that in that email as well for people who are coming in kind of late. It started in February, but you can still start it at any time.
Okay. Because there's, when I go in there to my course list, there's a banner that pops up. And I look at that and go, how do I find that? Because, and I forget the name of the course that it is, but I look at that and go, I've got a clue how to find it. So
yeah, I'll send out a direct link to it when I send out the replay for this. So.
Awesome. Great. Awesome. Thank you.
Can you include
welcome.
can you include all your courses available on Rizuku if you were willing to, like in the email?
I will try to do that. Yes.
Yeah,
So anyway,
tab.
yeah. So I will do my best. I don't have very many open right now, so I'll do my best. But yeah, so I would love to invite you to join me in the Goddess Magic devotional space on Patreon. It's patreon.com/goddessmagic, and we do explore living our magic in all kinds of ways, kind of pretty much every day in some capacity. And so those things exist to like support you, nourish you, encourage you, inspire you, I hope, help you in sustaining a daily practice and in claiming your magic. And I see Lyric asked the main difference between Goddess Magic Community on Patreon and the Goddess Circle Facebook group. I think you might be thinking of so I have a Goddess Magic Community on Facebook that is for people who are on in Patreon. And then I have a Creative Spirit Circle, which I think is maybe what you're thinking of. The Creative Spirit Circle is like the free level, basically. So if you think of me as having like two main areas, the Creative Spirit Circle is all the free stuff that I do. That's the newsletter. That's the Creative Spirit Circle Facebook group. That's like the free level. And then the Goddess Magic level is like the paid level. So that's the best way to think about them. There's the Creative Spirit Circle. That's the free stuff. Goddess Magic Community is the paid stuff. And there's overlap between them because luckily I have some wonderful patrons in the Goddess Magic Community. And because they are willing to commit to being there, that helps me have the funds to provide things for free for everybody. So it really does help to have the patronage, because then I'm able to do things like, you know, the newsletter. Making that newsletter costs me more than $100 a month, for example. And so everybody gets the newsletter for free. And luckily I have amazing patrons. And so that makes the $100 a month that I spend doing the newsletter less of a bite. And ditto for the classroom costs me more than $1,000 a year to have the classroom. So if I offer classes there that are free, having like a base, having some people pay allows me to do lots of things for free too. So I try to give really good value to the people who pay. They get lots and lots and lots of extra stuff. I try to give good value in both ways. Free stuff for everybody because I want everybody to have access. Paid stuff for some people who get lots of extra stuff, but there's always like a base that's open to everybody, because I really want things to be accessible and open and not charge for everything all the time.
Question.
Okay. Yes.
Goddess Magic Community, is that for all of your paid
Yes.
Patreon people, or?
Yes.
Okay. Somehow I don't think I've
It's for
managed to get
everybody.
in
It's
there.
Oh,
So-
that's where I do I do a Monday live there, and I do other things in the Facebook group. So it's called the
That
Goddess
would
Magic
explain,
Circle on
that would explain
Facebook.
why I
Yep.
can never find that information.
It is there.
Okay, I'll have to
I'll
look
link
that
to
one
that
up.
too. You're gonna get an email full of links.
That works, that works. Thank you.
So, you're welcome. So anyway, I think we have come to the end of our time together today. And thank you again for having showed up and being here. And I would like to invite you to as a closing, as we close our circle, I have one of our other cards, the one that has the little prayer, the colorable prayer that starts with "I claim my voice." I would like to do that as a group. So you can go ahead and stay muted, but I'll say the first part, and then what I would like is for you to repeat that to yourself, you know, letting that kind of soak into you. So that's how we'll close our circle tonight. I claim my voice and honor my power. I release fear and doubt. I step with trust into my authentic purpose. I lean into the expansive. I inhabit the sacred. I live my magic. And so then taking your hands back out to the other people on the sides of you in the circle, and allowing yourself to sense again that energy, that web of connection that we've woven together across the miles, that magic that we've leaned into, stepped into, claimed and named. And then bringing your hands back to your heart and carrying that sensation of support, of love, of connection, carrying that with you into the rest of your life. It is always there. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for sharing your experiences and your voices. Thank you for buying the book, for being patrons, for joining the community. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being here. And may
Thank you.
keep claiming your magic. Keep claiming your magic and living your magic and returning again and again and again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you so much. Bye-bye.
Everybody.
Bye.